My own family staged an intervention to disown me for the good of the family. Too bad they didn't know about the secret business I owned. I'm Sarah, and I'm sitting in my childhood living room, staring at 4 faces that used to mean everything to me. My parents, my older brother Daniel, and my Aunt Linda have arranged themselves like a tribunal, and I already know this isn't going to end well. Sarah, my mother begins, her voice cold and measured, we can't keep enabling your behavior. You're 28 years old, and you're still living like a teenager. My father nods grimly. We've tried to be patient, but enough is enough. You're embarrassing this family. Daniel shifts uncomfortably in his chair, but he doesn't defend me. He never does. Look, sis, he says, avoiding my eyes. We all want what's best for you. But what? I ask quietly. But you're a disappointment, Aunt Linda cuts in. Your brother graduated summa cum laude, got his MBA, landed that corporate job. What have you done? You can't even hold down a regular job. The words hit like physical blows, but they're not new. I've been hearing variations of this my entire life. When I was 7 and Daniel was 10, he won the school science fair while I came in 3rd. Mum hung his trophy on the mantel and put mine in a drawer. When I graduated high school with a 3.8 GPA, they were too busy celebrating Daniel's college acceptance to notice. When I finished my degree in business administration, they didn't even come to the ceremony because Daniel had a work presentation that same day. We've made a decision, Dad says, pulling out a manila folder. We're removing you from our will. You're no longer permitted to use the family name in any professional capacity, and we're cutting all financial ties. My stomach drops. You're disowning me. We're protecting the family reputation, Mom says matter-of-factly. Your lifestyle, your choices, your inability to maintain stable employment, it all reflects poorly on us. Daniel is getting married next month to a wonderful woman from a respected family. We can't have you dragging down his prospects. I think about my childhood bedroom upstairs, with its faded pink walls and participation ribbons that meant nothing to anyone. I remember being 8 years old, lying in that bed with a fever of 103, calling for my mum. She was too busy helping Daniel with his homework to check on me. My grandmother, my mum's mother, was the one who rushed over with soup and medicine, the one who held my hand until the fever broke. Grandma Rose was the only person in this family who ever made me feel wanted. She'd pick me up from school when my parents forgot, take me for ice cream when they were too busy with Daniel's activities, and tell me stories about how special I was. When she died 3 years ago, I cried alone at her funeral while my family networked with the other mourners. Do you remember when I had pneumonia in college? I asked suddenly. I was in the hospital for 4 days. None of you visited, not once. You were at a school 6 hours away, Mom defends. We couldn't just drop everything. But you drove 8 hours to watch Daniel's intramural basketball game that same month. The silence stretches uncomfortably. That's exactly what we're talking about, Aunt Linda says. You're always playing the victim, always making everything about you. It's exhausting. I stand up slowly, my legs shaky. So that's it? You're just done with me? Unless you make some serious changes, Dad says. Yes. Get a real job, stop this freelance nonsense, maybe consider therapy to work on your attitude. Then we can discuss bringing you back into the family. Daniel finally speaks up. Sarah, I know this seems harsh, but we're trying to help you. Maybe this will be the wake-up call you need. I look at my brother, golden boy Daniel with his perfect job, perfect fiancé, perfect life handed to him on a silver platter. He has no idea that I've been quietly paying his student loans for the past 2 years. He doesn't know that when Dad had his heart attack last year and the insurance didn't cover everything, I was the one who anonymously paid the remaining medical bills. The family thinks it was a blessing from God or possibly help from Daniel's future in-laws. Fine, I say, surprising them all with my calm tone. if that's what you want. It's what's best for everyone, Mum says, but I catch a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. I walk to the front door, my childhood home suddenly feeling like a stranger's house. I'll send someone for my things. Sarah, wait, Daniel starts, but I'm already outside. 6 months later, I'm living in a modest one-bedroom apartment downtown, and according to my family, I'm a complete failure. What they don't know, what nobody knows except my best friend Emma, is that I've been running a highly successful business consulting firm for the past 3 years. Wilson Consulting isn't some small-time operation. We specialize in digital transformation strategies for Fortune 500 companies, and our client list reads like a who's who of American business. I started it while I was still in college, working with small local businesses at first, then gradually building my reputation and client base. The freelance nonsense my family dismisses so casually brought in $1.2 million last year. I keep the business completely separate from my personal life. My clients know me as Sarah Wilson, CEO and founder. I work from a sleek downtown office under a different LLC, and I've been very careful to maintain my privacy. After years of being treated like the family failure, I learned to keep my victories to myself. This morning, I'm sitting in my office reviewing quarterly reports when Emma bursts through the door with coffee and her usual dramatic flair. "Okay, I have news," she announces, setting a latte on my desk. "Daniel's wedding is next weekend, and apparently your cousin Michelle is planning to invite you." I look up from my laptop. "That's not happening." "Sarah, come on. It's been 6 months since the whole disowning thing. Maybe it's time to show them who you really are." Emma is the only person who knows everything. About the business, about the money I've quietly funneled to help my family, about how much their rejection still hurts. She's been my friend since high school, the one person who always believed in me when nobody else did. "They made their choice," I say, turning back to my computer. "I'm not interested in grovelling for their approval." "Who said anything about grovelling?" Emma grins mischievously. "I'm talking about a grand revelation. Picture this. Successful businesswoman shows up at family wedding, shocks everyone with her actual life." That sounds like something out of a romance novel. The best revenge plots usually do. Emma sits on the edge of my desk. "Sarah, you've spent your whole life letting them think you're a failure." "Why?" I pause, considering her question. Why have I kept the business secret? At first, it was because I wanted to prove I could succeed without their help or approval. Then it became a form of protection. If they didn't know about my success, they couldn't find ways to diminish it or take credit for it. "Because," I say finally, "as long as they think I'm a failure, I can't disappoint them any further." Emma's expression softens. "Honey, you're not the same scared little girl who used to hide in your grandmother's kitchen. You've built something incredible. You employ 12 people. You've helped transform major corporations. You're successful by any measure that matters." She's right, and I know it. Wilson Consulting has exceeded every goal I set for it. We're profitable, growing, and respected in our industry. I've been featured in business magazines, spoken at conferences, and earned recognition from my peers, all under my professional identity that my family knows nothing about. Plus, Emma adds with a smirk, I happen to know that one of the wedding guests is Marcus Chen, CEO of Pinnacle Industries. Isn't that one of your biggest clients? My stomach flips. Marcus Chen has been working with Wilson Consulting for 8 months on a massive digital overhaul project. He's also one of the most influential business leaders in the city, and he knows my work intimately. How do you know he'll be there? Because his daughter is Daniel's fiancée's maid of honour. Small world, right? I lean back in my chair, my mind racing. If Marcus is there and recognises me, my secret will be blown wide open. But maybe that's not such a bad thing anymore. Your cousin Michelle called me, Emma continues. She said the family feels bad about how things ended. Apparently your mom has been asking about you. Probably wondering if I've ended up homeless yet. Or maybe she's realizing that cutting you off wasn't the solution she thought it would be. I think about the last 6 months. Without the constant criticism and disappointment from my family, I've actually thrived. My business has grown, I've taken on bigger clients, and I've felt more confident than ever. But there's still a part of me, a small, hurt part, that wants them to see who I really am. If I go, I say slowly, I'm not going to hide anymore. No more pretending to be the family failure. Emma's smile is radiant. Now you're talking. Let's show them exactly who Sarah Wilson really is. The wedding is being held at the Grand View Country Club, the same place where my family has celebrated every major milestone for the past 20 years. Daniel's engagement party was here, my parents' anniversary celebrations, even Grandma Rose's funeral reception. It's beautiful, prestigious, and exactly the kind of place my family loves to show off. I arrive fashionably late, wearing a tailored navy dress that cost more than my family thinks I make in a month. My hair is professionally styled, my makeup is flawless, and I feel more confident than I have in years. The moment I walk into the reception hall, conversations stop. My mother spots me first, her face cycling through surprise, confusion, and what might be embarrassment. Sarah? Dad approaches cautiously, as if I might be a mirage. What are you doing here? Michelle invited me, I say simply. Congratulations on Daniel's wedding. Daniel appears with his new wife, Rebecca, both of them looking uncomfortable. Sarah, we didn't think you'd come. I almost didn't, I smile politely. But family is family, right? Isn't that what you always taught me? Before anyone can respond, I hear a familiar voice behind me. Sarah Wilson, is that really you? I turn to see Marcus Chen approaching with a huge smile, and I know there's no going back now. My secret is about to become very public. Marcus, what a surprise to see you here, I say, shaking his hand. The surprise is mutual. Rebecca, this is Sarah Wilson, the CEO I was telling you about, the one who's revolutionizing our entire digital infrastructure. Rebecca's eyes widen. You're a CEO? My family has gathered around us now, all of them staring with varying degrees of shock and confusion. Marcus, I say carefully, I should mention that Daniel here is my brother. Marcus looks between us, clearly picking up on the tension. Your brother? Sarah, you never mentioned you had family in the area. Daniel, you must be incredibly proud of your sister. Wilson Consulting is doing groundbreaking work. The silence that follows is deafening. Daniel's face has gone completely pale. Sarah, you're a CEO? Marcus, oblivious to the family drama unfolding, continues enthusiastically. Not just any CEO, Sarah's company has increased our operational efficiency by 300% in just 8 months. We're talking about a complete digital transformation that's saving us millions annually. My mother's mouth opens and closes like a fish out of water. I don't understand. Sarah, you told us you were unemployed. I never told you I was unemployed, I correct gently. You assumed I was unemployed because I didn't have what you considered a real job. Marcus looks around at the shocked faces and seems to finally grasp that he's walked into something complicated. I'm sorry, did I say something wrong? Not at all, I assure him. Marcus, let me properly introduce my family. This is my mother, Patricia, my father, Robert, and you've met my brother Daniel and his wife, Rebecca. It's wonderful to meet you all, Marcus says, still confused but maintaining his professional demeanour. You must be so proud of Sarah's achievements. Wilson Consulting is one of the most innovative firms we've ever worked with. Aunt Linda finally finds her voice. Sarah, this is impossible. You live in that tiny apartment. You dress like, well, not like a CEO. I dress however I want, I reply calmly. Success doesn't require a uniform, Linda. Rebecca, bless her heart, seems genuinely interested. Sarah, I had no idea. Daniel never mentioned that his sister ran a business. That's because Daniel didn't know, I say, watching my brother's face crumble with realization. None of them did. Marcus's eyebrows raise. Really? That's unusual. Most entrepreneurs love talking about their ventures with family. Most entrepreneurs don't get told their work is freelance nonsense that embarrasses the family, I reply, my voice steady but pointed. The colour drains from Dad's face. Sarah, you can't be serious. All this time you've been running a successful business and you never told us? Why would I ask. 6 months ago, you told me I was a disappointment who couldn't hold down a regular job. You disowned me for embarrassing the family. What exactly would have changed if you'd known? Marcus clears his throat uncomfortably. Perhaps I should give you all some privacy to discuss this. Actually, Marcus, I'd like you to stay, I say, surprising everyone, including myself. There's something else my family should know. I pull out my phone and show them a series of bank transfers. Daniel, do you remember when your student loan payments mysteriously stopped coming out of your account 2 years ago? You thought it was a computer error that worked in your favour. Daniel's face goes ashen. That was you? And Dad, when you had your heart attack last year and the insurance didn't cover the full cost of your surgery, the hospital told you an anonymous benefactor paid the remaining $60,000. You thought it was a miracle. My father stumbles backward, reaching for a chair. No, that's not possible. I have the receipts, I say simply. I can show you the wire transfers, the payment confirmations, everything. Marcus whistles low. Sarah, that's incredibly generous. Your family is lucky to have someone who cares so much. They don't want someone who cares, I reply, my voice starting to crack slightly. They want someone who fits their definition of success, someone like Daniel, who looks good on paper and makes them proud at dinner parties. Mum steps forward, tears starting to form in her eyes. Sarah, honey, we didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't ask, I interrupt. You made assumptions about my life based on what you could see. And when I didn't meet your expectations, you decided I was worthless. That's not true, Daniel protests weakly, isn't it? I turn to face him directly. When was the last time you asked me how I was doing? Not how my job search was going, not when I was going to get my life together, but how I was actually doing. Daniel opens his mouth, but no words come out. I'll answer for you, I continue. Never. None of you have ever asked me about my dreams, my goals, my happiness. You only cared about whether I was living up to your standards. Rebecca touches Daniel's arm gently. Honey, maybe we should listen to what Sarah is saying. Listen to what? Aunt Linda snaps. She's been lying to us for years. I wasn't lying, I say firmly. I was protecting myself. Every time I've shared something important with this family, you've found a way to diminish it or ignore it. So I stopped sharing. Marcus looks genuinely uncomfortable now. I really think I should go. Please don't, I say. I want you to hear this because you're one of the few people who knows what I'm actually capable of. Marcus, would you mind telling my family about the Morrison Industries project? Marcus glances around nervously, but nods. Well, Sarah's team handled a complete digital overhaul for Morrison Industries last year. It was a $100 million project that they completed ahead of schedule and under budget. The client was so impressed, they recommended Wilson Consulting to 3 other major corporations. $100 million, Mum whispers. That's just one project, Marcus continues. Sarah's firm has handled some of the largest digital transformations on the East Coast. She's spoken at industry conferences, been featured in Forbes, and her client retention rate is over 90%, which is almost unheard of in consulting. Forbes? Dad repeats faintly. I pull up the article on my phone and hand it to him. The headline reads, 30 Under 30, Young Entrepreneurs Revolutionizing Corporate America. There's a professional photo of me in my office, looking confident and successful. This came out 8 months ago, I say, right around the time you were telling everyone I was a failure who couldn't hold down a job. Daniel takes the phone with shaking hands. Sarah, this is incredible. Why didn't you tell us? Because I knew exactly what would happen, I reply. You would have found a way to make it about yourselves. Dad would have taken credit for my work ethic. Mom would have criticized my photo or my outfit, and you, Daniel, would have found some way to diminish it so you could still be the golden child. That's not fair, Daniel protests, isn't it? When I graduated summa cum laude from business school, do you remember what you said? Daniel looks blank. You said, well, business isn't as hard as engineering. When I won the state debate championship in high school, you said, anyone can win when the competition isn't that strong. You have spent my entire life making sure I knew that my achievements didn't matter as much as yours. Rebecca looks horrified. Daniel, is that true? I didn't mean... Daniel struggles for words. You absolutely meant it, I say, my voice getting stronger. All of you did. You needed me to be the failure so you could feel better about yourselves. Well, congratulations. I was never the failure. I was just the one person in this family with enough integrity not to tear others down, to build myself up. Marcus checks his watch nervously. Sarah, I really should let you handle this family matter privately. But before I go, I want you to know that Pinnacle Industries is planning to recommend Wilson Consulting for a major government contract next quarter. It could be worth upwards of $50 million. The number hangs in the air like a physical presence. 50 million? Aunt Linda chokes out. At minimum, Marcus confirms, Sarah's reputation in the industry is exceptional. She's exactly the kind of entrepreneur our country needs more of. He turns to me. I'll call you next week about the preliminary meetings. After Marcus leaves, the silence is suffocating. My family stands there, looking at me like I'm a stranger, which I suppose I am to them. Sarah, Mom finally says, her voice trembling, we made a terrible mistake. You made a choice, I correct. You chose to judge me based on appearances instead of getting to know who I actually am. But you're still our daughter, Dad says desperately. You're still family. Am I? I ask. Because 6 months ago you told me I wasn't family anymore. You said I was embarrassing you, that I was a disappointment, that I wasn't worthy of the family name. We were wrong, Daniel says, tears now flowing freely down his face. Sarah, we were so wrong. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I look at my brother, really look at him, for the first time in years. He's crying and he looks genuinely devastated, but I feel strangely disconnected from his pain. I'm sure you are sorry, I say quietly. You're sorry that you misjudged me. You're sorry that you look foolish in front of Marcus and Rebecca and all these wedding guests. You're sorry that you disowned someone who was secretly helping your family financially. But are you sorry for how you treated me when you thought I was worthless? Daniel's face crumbles. Yes. God, yes, Sarah. I've been a terrible brother. You have, I agree. But more than that, you've been a stranger. We've lived in the same city for 10 years, and you don't know anything about me. You don't know what I care about, what I dream about, what makes me happy or sad. You know Daniel, the idea of me, not Sarah, the actual person. We can change that, Mom says urgently. We can start over. We can get to know you properly. I shake my head slowly. I don't think you can. Because the only reason you want to get to know me now is because you found out I'm successful. If Marcus hadn't been here, If you'd found out I was a CEO of a failing company, or if I ran a successful bakery instead of a consulting firm, would you be having the same reaction? The uncomfortable silence tells me everything I need to know. That's what I thought, I continue. You don't want a relationship with me. You want a relationship with my success. You want to be able to brag about your CEO daughter and take credit for raising an entrepreneur. That's not true, Dad protests, but his voice lacks conviction. It is true, and deep down you know it. For 28 years, you've shown me exactly who you are and what you value. I finally learned to believe you. Rebecca, who has been quietly listening this whole time, steps forward. Sarah, I don't know you well, but I can see how much pain this situation has caused everyone. Is there any way to move forward from here? I look at her, really look at her. She seems genuine, kind, and completely horrified by what she's learning about her new husband's family. Rebecca, I like you, and I wish you and Daniel every happiness, I say sincerely. But I need to be clear about something. I'm not interested in going back to the way things were. I'm not interested in pretending the last 6 months didn't happen, or that this family didn't show me exactly where I stand when things get tough. What does that mean? Mom asks fearfully. It means I'm done begging for your approval. I'm done trying to earn my place in this family. I'm done accepting crumbs of affection and calling it love. Daniel looks panicked. Sarah, please. We're family. We can work this out. We can have a cordial relationship, I say firmly. We can exchange pleasantries at weddings and funerals. I can send Christmas cards and birthday gifts, but I'm not your daughter anymore, and you're not my parents. You made that very clear 6 months ago. You can't mean that, Mom sobs. I absolutely mean it. I've learned to live without your love, and frankly, I'm happier for it. I have people in my life who value me for who I am, not what I achieve. I have friends who support me when I'm struggling, not friends who abandon me when I'm not perfect. I pause, looking around at all their devastated faces, and I feel nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, no sadness, just a kind of peaceful resolution. I want you to know that I forgive you, I continue. I forgive you for making me feel worthless for most of my life. I forgive you for disowning me when I needed you most. I forgive you for caring more about your reputation than your daughter's well-being. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. Sarah, please, Aunt Linda says. We're your family. No, I say calmly. You're my relatives. There's a difference. Family supports each other. Family shows up when times are tough. Family loves unconditionally. You are DNA that I happen to share. I pick up my purse and smooth down my dress. I have a life to get back to, a business to run, employees who depend on me, clients who trust me. I have Emma, who has been more of a sister to me than anyone in this room. I have a chosen family of people who celebrate my victories and support me through my failures. You can have both, Daniel pleads desperately. I could have, I agree, but you made it clear I couldn't. You forced me to choose between your approval and my self-respect, and I chose myself. I'll always choose myself now. I head toward the door, then turn back one final time. For what it's worth, I hope you've learned something from this. I hope you treat the next person better than you treated me. And Daniel, I hope you raise your children to know they're loved no matter what they achieve in life. As I walk out of the country club, I hear Daniel calling my name, but I don't turn around. I'm done looking back. 3 months later, I'm sitting in my expanded office. We moved to a larger space to accommodate our growing team, reviewing the contracts for the government project Marcus mentioned. $53 million spread over 2 years. It's the biggest contract Wilson Consulting has ever landed. Emma knocks on my door and enters with her usual dramatic flair. Guess who just got a very interesting phone call? If it's my family, I'm not interested. It wasn't your family, it was Rebecca. I look up, surprised. Rebecca, as in Daniel's wife, Rebecca. The very same. Apparently, she's been trying to get your number for months, but Daniel was too ashamed to ask you directly. What did she want? Emma sits down across from my desk. She wanted to apologize, not on behalf of your family, but for herself. She said she felt terrible about the wedding, about not knowing what kind of people she was marrying into. That's not her fault. That's what I told her. But here's the interesting part. She also said she started her own non-profit organization and wanted to know if Wilson Consulting might be interested in helping with their digital infrastructure. I lean back in my chair. A non-profit? Something about supporting young entrepreneurs who come from difficult family situations. She said the wedding conversation got her thinking about how many people might be out there hiding their potential because their families don't believe in them. That's actually touching and completely unexpected. What did you tell her? I told her I'd pass along the message, but that any business relationship would have to be kept completely separate from family drama. I nod slowly. That's fair. Set up a meeting. But make it clear this is purely professional. Already done. She's coming in Thursday at 2. I turn back to my computer, but Emma doesn't leave. What? I ask. I'm proud of you, she says simply, for walking away when you needed to, for building this life on your own terms, for not letting them drag you back into their dysfunction. Thank you for being there through all of it. That's what real family does, Emma grins. Speaking of which, my mom wants to know when you're coming over for Sunday dinner again. She says she misses having someone who appreciates her cooking. I smile, thinking about Emma's warm, chaotic family who welcomed me with open arms years ago. Her parents have never asked me about my business or my achievements. They just seem happy that I make their daughter laugh and remember to ask how her grandmother's arthritis is doing. Tell her this Sunday works. I'll bring dessert. Perfect. Oh, and Sarah, for what it's worth, I think you made the right choice. You can't build a healthy relationship on a foundation of conditional love. After Emma leaves, I sit in my office looking out at the city skyline. My phone buzzes with notifications, client emails, meeting requests, industry updates. My calendar is packed with presentations and strategy sessions. My team is working on projects that will impact thousands of jobs and millions of dollars in economic activity. This is the life I built when I stopped waiting for my family's approval. This is who I became when I started believing in myself instead of seeking validation from people who were never going to give it. My phone rings and I see an unknown number. For a split second, I wonder if it's one of my family members, but then I answer and hear Marcus's voice. Sarah, I have some news that I think you're going to want to hear. As I listen to Marcus explain another potential contract, this one international, I realize something profound. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt anymore. I'm not waiting for my family to love me anymore. I'm free. And for the first time in my life, that's enough.